making $202 trading the S&P 500. Welcome on into today's trade recap. We have one trade to talk about, which is completely closed out now, and that was my recent trade. It was actually a swing trade here on the S&P 500. I believe I initiated this back on Monday. It is now Wednesday, and we are closing out. This was done on the 4-hour chart. We'll pull it all up and show you guys what I was looking at and really kind of how this trade played out. So I'm going to jump to the 4-hour chart, and you can see the entry, exits, all that stuff. But I'm going to go back to the trade replay feature because it's a little bit more interesting to show you guys that. But we netted total. Now, some of these profits were accounted for with realized gains a couple of days ago, as I took a small scale, I believe yesterday, a small scale of position out. We netted about $225 in profits, and the initial target was looking for $250, and I was going to risk $134, so just shy of a 2-to-1 risk reward based on my target and stuff. And it ends up becoming a realized 1.67 R, 1.67 risk reward essentially trade, which is fine in my view. That's fine. I don't really care too much about that as long as we're not under a 1R. For my strategy, we're good, because my strategy, as we've seen now, this month is a little bit different. You know, maybe so far, maybe not. Maybe that's not the case. Either way, past couple months, you know, we've had ups and downs for sure. We've been pretty consistent, I'd say, overall, like when you zoom out. But the strategy operates right now at around a 53%. So I know if I'm, you know, and it should be north of 50%, realistically. There are some times, and we've gone through some months where I was below 50%. That's possible. That's certainly possible. And we actually were profitable, I believe, last month. And you can be profitable with a sub 50% risk reward, or average win rate, I should say. But the strategy operates. I just think in the back of my head, just pretend that you operate at a 50% risk reward or win rate. Sorry, I keep saying risk reward. A 50% win rate. If you do that, you're fine. If you're making more than you're risking, if your R multiple is above 1, you know, we're doing something right. Now we can optimize that as time goes on, yes, but we're doing something right, and we are going to be profitable if we can continue to push a 50% win rate, which I think is very doable. But it's a lot more realistic, right? It's a lot more realistic than what people were going to tell you. Oh, I can, you know, showing you 80-90%. They're going to, you know, cherry pick. This is actual. These videos, I think, are I think about them. I'm like, I know no one really cares because like there's not a lot. They don't get a lot of views, but they're real. This is like actually trading, like what it actually is. So you can see into what it is like, and these are more realistic numbers. So 202 here today on the S&P 500. This is on the prop account. I'll pull that up in a second, and I'll show you guys. I got to log into it. Where that currently stands, because I think we're getting close to, I believe, 50% of the way there to being funded, with some trades open. So it depends upon how the next couple of weeks can go. You know, of course, a lot can change. But so I'm going to go to the replay feature here on TradeZella. Actually, first I'm going to log this. This was a 4-hour chart trade setup, and this was a bull flag setup. So I'm going to log that so we have those logs. We can track that data later on, which is good. And the biggest thing that I'm looking to track the next, you know, month plus, and I've been tracking the past month, is timeframes. I have been trading a lot more in the larger timeframes, so the trades have been less. That is for sure. But it's timeframes. I'm much more concerned with the timeframes. So far on the trade replay right here, we're only going to get the 1-hour chart, so we can only see that. But let's just go back in time. Let's see if we can pull this up. Actually, it might be only today. Might be looking at today. But I'll play this out and show you guys. I'll pull it up on TradingView here. Let's just zoom this guy across. We kind of had this nice push here today, and I sold the last piece of it there today. That was just today's action. So this is better for trade recaps if you were looking at a daily time frame, and something that actually I'll probably reach out to them and see if they can add or help fix this up so you can zoom out on different time frames. But either way. So here we go. I was looking at the micro minis. This is kind of where I drew out my trade and all that stuff. And what we had was a breakout. See this little alert right here, which I can now delete. This little alert right there was me putting an alert on Monday saying, hey, if we can break above this, I want to get in long. And we did. And I got in on this candle right here shortly after the break, right around this break area. I think I put a buy stop order actually at that level. And then my stop loss, I was going to go under the recent a higher low. So my stop loss was here. And so that was my plan going in. So if I do the math on that, you enter right here roughly, and you stop out under that low. So then you do the math on where that puts you. Where's a 2-to-1? Now, I wasn't looking for exactly a 2-to-1, but where's a 2-to-1? A 2-to-1 is going to be right here. Now, I zoom out and I say, okay, well, a 2-to-1 puts you right there, which is very close to all-time highs on the S&P. So I wanted to make sure that we are just below that. So I ended up targeting, I believe we can go back to the trade here. It was, let's pull it back up. I ended up targeting more like here it is. A 1.86 was my planned R multiple. So it was just shy of a 2-to-1, but I ended up netting a 1.67 because I did scale out a little piece yesterday. So that was really the idea. So it's quite, straightforward and simple. In my view, the 2-to-1 was, and still could work to get the exact 2-to-1. Not that it matters, but my thought was that's going to get awfully close to an all-time high. I suspect we could see some resistance up near an all-time high on the S&P. So I just want to make sure I'm selling before that, and within reason, a nice little cushion before. We're still very close. I mean, you can zoom out in the S&P. We are quite close to an all-time high. Let's pull it up really quick. If I go out to the weekly charts, and I were to go to the S&P and I were to draw a line at all-time highs, that would be right here. So you can see that we are, on the S&P, not SPY, on the S&P 500, we're about, 50 points away, which is not that insane. The S&P is up 4 points today, yeah, but 50 points. I mean, the candle we had last week, the S&P moved well over, I believe, 100 points. We went from just under 4,600 to closing over 47. Yeah, well over 100 points was the move last week. These are weekly candles I'm looking at. So, 50 points, that could be hit this week. And we'll see. Could be hit this week. I believe SPY, just for dividends and whatnot, is even closer to all-time highs. If not, it's very close. We're very close. We can be getting all-time highs soon. We're within a few dollars of all-time highs on SPY. So that can hit this week. Doesn't have to hit. We have PCE on Friday. I was just looking at that. PCE on Friday, that would be your catalyst to, either get the all-time high, I would suspect, or not. Obviously, it could happen before that, sure. But, markets, we're moving along, but we're not moving along aggressively. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially with PCE coming out on Friday. And that's a little catalyst that could move us. And, if it's market takes it as a positive or not, whatever it happens, that's going to be what probably sets us up. And now, I don't want to say, but I don't know what's going to happen. I don't really care. I think here's the biggest thing I will say right now. Here's my view and mindset going in. Back to the dashboard. If you were to pull this out to this month, you'll notice that, open positions. I have a Tesla, a Bitcoin, and a Meta. Now, I sold half the Meta. I have a full Tesla position. And I have about 40% left of the Bitcoin position, which is actually getting closer and closer to popping off and hitting profits. So that might even hit, today or tomorrow. We'll see. I'll cover that in, if it does take profit, I'll hit that in the next trade recap. So we'll see what happens there. But across the board, we are long, but we've been trimming out. I haven't really opened anything new. Nothing I've been looking at that I'm like, oh man, I can't. That's got to be a trade. I don't know. We'll see. But overall, this has been, a massive move, right? And it would be easy to say, well, we're up a lot. I don't know if I want to get long. But the reality is, it doesn't matter. My approach to this is, these trades, it does not matter. If I get the setup that I'm looking for and the criteria is met, I'm going to take the trade, because we may still, what if this thing goes and SPY pushes to 500, there's still potentially, if let's say SPY did push to 500 into the beginning of next year, there's a lot of gains to be had based off a lot of setups that will probably present themselves for me in that time frame. But maybe past me would be like, well, we're a little overextended, or we're very overextended. I don't want to be long. Well, maybe that's my situation in an investing account, in an investing mindset, but trading is different. It's not the same. It's not the same mindset, right? Trading is, I see the setup, I take the setup. That's it. Simple as that. The problems that I'm going to have is that what I could see is, if we do consolidate for a bit, for me, that could hurt me. I can get caught in some chop, which could potentially hurt. Bigger time frames, I have had less of that happen, which is why I've been zooming out, because it's been a little bit better for my strategy. Or if we start pulling back, this early phase of a pullback, I generally, if that's what happens, there's not going to be a lot of trades for me, because I need things to start to set themselves up on the downside, and I need more than just a 1 or 2 day pullback or a 3 day pullback for that to probably occur. So just looking ahead, that's what I kind of see. But until then, right, it's kind of just business as usual and doing what I'm going to do and playing what I play. Now, I have started to size up a bit more. So if you jump back, this is a longer video than I wanted it to be, but I think it just is this real view into what I like, into actual trading. Let's just be real. That's what it is. So, and then I got to pull up the account status. So far, realized gains for the month, we are up to 866, which is pretty good. It's not a bad month. It's nothing insane for some, but for me, someone who doesn't rely upon this money as income, like it's just kind of showing that we're good. If we can keep doing this consistently, like it's going to be really, really good, and then we can up that size as time goes on. I'm not really concerned about the sizing. But average win-loss this month is 206 on the winner and 71 on the loser. Now, this Tesla trade that I'm in, which is on this break to the upside here of Tesla, I'll pull it up. The risk reward, I'm actually playing, I'm looking at, I just checked it now, I am risking about $230 of downside. My stop loss currently sits right here. I can maybe move that stop loss up to this breaking candle low, which I might do. I'm looking at $230 of downside for about a $420, $450 upside, something along those lines. And that may change if I scale out, if I move my stop loss up and whatnot. But that's the size. So like the sizing has bumped on this specific trade. Now it's a chart. It's a trade based off the daily chart. So it's a swing trade. We're not really at risk of this thing knifing down and stopping me out and then just snapping back up. Like if Tesla were to stop me out, it would have to come down to here and it would be a big move down. It would totally invalidate this breakout. So that's my view. Now, what that also means is that I'm looking for a nice target, the upside, which is up here. So, Tesla has to make a pretty big move. It's got to go about $20 more for me to take profit or hit that target that I'm looking for. Maybe more than that. And then it's got to fall about, what is this? It's got to fall about $20 from here because we're in the profit. We got in around 251 was where I got in roughly. So the sizing is going to go up. But again, this trade could take weeks to play out for all I know. Maybe it hits next week. I don't know. But it could take weeks to play out. So when I size up, it's not as tough, I have found mentally, to handle the increase in size when you increase the time frame and increase the trade duration. You know what I'm saying? So if I was day trading every single day and risking 200 to make 400 and I went through a shitty week, you could stack up some pretty big losses based off of, okay, like, hey, this is like if I lose for 3 days in a row, at that pace, I can give this away, a good chunk of this away, potentially, right? And that's possible. So when you're swinging like this, it makes it a little bit easier to fathom and to mentally handle the size increase. So that's why I think that's a good way, and for me, I found that to increase your size is by just increase the size, but increase the time frame so the trades, to have longer to play out. That's what's seemingly working for me right now. So here is the Surge Trader dashboard. We are currently at a realized, we pretty much realized about $2,000 in gains total, but the current account is now worth nearly $500 more with open positions. So we're about 49, call it roughly 50% way to our target. And again, with that Tesla trade, not saying it's going to happen, next week or whatever it happens, if it does win, we're going to make a move of $300 to $400, maybe more if I don't scale out, how much, depends how much I scale out on the way up. A couple $100 move up off one trade. And that's going to move the needle a lot faster. Not saying I'm trying to push to get funded today or as soon as possible. No, there's no time. I don't care when it happens. But I think that's the progression. So just kind of inching, pushing along. How at the same time, we got to take into account, this has been a pretty good environment, right? The past couple of weeks, right? We've been pushing up. Maybe it hasn't been as easy as some other months. I will tell you though, I feel as if the moves and what I've been seeing hasn't been as good as what I actually had in I think May and even parts of June this past year. So it's all relative, right? It's all relative when it comes down to it. But that's the trade update. I will leave links to TradeZilla to track all this stuff down below. But like I was saying, so far we're 20 days into the month. We're at 866. If I was to just sell everything right now, we're probably looking at around $1,300, maybe a little bit more in gains. In profits for this month. Last month we did 165, had a bad start, finished strong. So you can kind of see, but even look at last month, we finished green with a 44% win rate. Now that was a little bit high. I took too many trades that month. Last month I took 48 trades in 30 days, and if you go to this month, we're so far 20 days in and we're 14 trades. I don't think we're going to see. We might be into the 20s max. I don't even know if we're going to get there. You know what I mean? We might not even get to the 20s of trades. So less is more. Less is more. That's the takeaway. But thanks so much for watching. We've covered a lot, but that's like the thought process, the mindset, everything, all that going into today's kind of trading account update, funding challenge update, if you will. Thanks so much, guys. Peace.